So you want to become a Supreme Archmage? Well, welcome to Mage Arena, where yelling Fireball is a legitimate strategy, Soup is the ultimate power source, and Sorcerer on Warlock violence is more common than unpaid broomstick parking tickets at Hogwarts. In this video, we're going to be getting you on your magical way and becoming a Supreme Archmage of Destruction. Starting with the basics of Mage Arena, and starting with some simple keybinds that you probably should know about that are very important, that surprisingly not a lot of people utilize. So if you press B, you'll recall back to your base, and recalling is actually pretty important because it's one of the only sources to heal besides a spell we'll talk about later. Press Q to open your map, and you can see where you are, your teammates are, your XP in the top left corner, what zones your team has captured, and what zone the enemy team has captured, and just to orient yourself in general. Moving away from the actual keyboard, let's talk about the game itself. Essentially, it's sorcerers versus warlocks. Both teams with a maximum of 4 players each have their own castle on opposite sides of the map. There's 2 different maps. There's the large variant, which is just simply larger and has a few more hexagons, and there's the smaller variant, which, as you could have assumed, is just simply smaller. And all these different hexagons are home to different biomes, with the only 2 ones being constant are the 2 that have the different castles on opposite ends. Now, one thing that's pretty important to note from each of these different biomes is they all supply some type of unique resource or item that can make you more effective in battle, or an item that's just plain old fun to use. One of the first things you're going to need to know as a mage is how the heck to even cast spells. And well, simply to do that, you're going to have to be on the page of the spell you want to cast and simply say what it says. For Fireball, you'll say Fireball, and so on and so forth. Different spells have different cooldown timers, so as you play the game, you'll get used to these. Now, everybody spawns with this book, and this book has a couple spells in it, but there are more powerful and more fun spells, in my opinion, that can be found throughout the map. Opening up the map, there's 2 hexagons that are pretty unique and that have no flag to be captured on them, but are home to some of the most interesting and powerful spells in the game. For instance, there's the Lava Fortress Castle one that has a treasure chest in it that has items that you can acquire, that are spells and so on. And then there's kind of the Crypt or the Graveyard, where is actually home to Excalibur, which is a very strong melee weapon. For the Crypt, you're going to have to go inside of it, search your way through the dark corridors, and find 2 different pieces of Excalibur. From there, you're going to have to take those 2 pieces back to your castle after defeating some skeletons, and throw them on this log and craft. But there is a third way to acquire spells, and it requires you to trade items. We look at the map again, there's a unique hexagon that kind of has a gnome village in it, in a forest. It looks kind of like this on the map. If you have any crafting items that you don't really have a use for and you want to try to get something better or different, you just take it to one of these gnome guys, hand it to them, and they'll give you a random item. So I would highly advise not necessarily giving these guys anything of any value, because odds are they're not always going to give you something better. So just keep that in mind. So at the beginning of every match, you'll have a chest inside of your castle that has a few items you can craft a few things right away. But if you want to craft things later on in the match, you're going to have to get them from capturing other biomes. After you captured the biome, a little goblin guy will start carrying that resource back to your base periodically. And the same thing goes for your opponents. What'll happen is these goblins will drop that resource in front of your guys' castle gates. And you can actually steal your opponent's resources if you want. And that's where you can find them, take them back to the log, and craft other stuff. Or go to that gnome village and hopefully try to trade them for something better. Now, different biomes will give you different resources. For example, the Crystal Cavern will give you crystals, the Forest Hills will give you the logs, the Frog Bog will give you frogs, the Mountain Peaks will give you rocks, and the Mushrooms will give you, well, mushrooms. And the more biomes your team owns, the more XP you'll be acquiring over time, which will make your spells more powerful over time. So it's always better to have more biomes. The only biome that sometimes you might not want to capture is the mushroom one, and that's because these blue little mushrooms can actually be used as kind of a trampoline to jump into your base. If you're having a hard time figuring out what you can even craft, if you go to the crafting table, there's actually a list of the items there. It is kind of hard to read, but you can at least make out what it's asking for a little bit, but I'll be providing one that's much more clear in this video. Feel free to pause at any moment during it. I'm going to speed through it. Now for the next basic thing everybody should know, is that there's really only 2 different game modes. Team Deathmatch, which is the same as any other Team Deathmatch, and Capture the Flag. which in my experience is the primary game type and the most popular game type. In your castle and in some of the biomes, you'll have flags there, and you have to capture those flags in order to, well, claim that territory. And if it's a territory that provides a resource, those little goblin guys will then carry that resource back to your castle. Now, the most important flag for your team is the flag that is inside your castle. Now, this part is really important information. If you take nothing away, just take this part away. If the enemy team captures the flag inside of your castle, you will not be able to respawn. So it's very important you protect that flag. So if you know your castle is heavily under attack, maybe hold down that keybind B and teleport back to your base and help out. And now there's also a gate that's there. Always make sure you close this gate and do your best to never leave it open. You want to make it as hard as possible for your enemies to get inside of your castle. And no, it does not matter if you have other flags captured throughout the map. The only flag that will allow you to keep respawning is your castle flag. There's actually this little crystal ball in the bottom right corner that indicates if you're able to respawn or not. If it's a halo with some angel wings, you can, and if it's a skull, that means you can't. So your main objective is capture the enemy flag's base and eliminate all of the players on that team. That's how you achieve victory. And the point of capturing these other territories is for the XP boost and for the resources, because the XP boost will make your spells more powerful, and the resources can help you, well, craft items that can help you win. To see your current level, you'll just open up the map and look in the top left corner. The maximum level is actually indicated by a skull, and depending on your level, it actually changes how your spells work just a tiny bit. For example, fireballs will have a bigger area of effect and have an even bigger knockback. Most of them just improve the AoE effect it has along with the damage, but for the one spell that's kind of like a teleporter, the wormhole, it actually affects its duration. And the higher level it is, the longer this portal will last. It's also pretty dang important that you know about the power of soup. Whenever you first spawn in, you'll see this big lovable giant in the middle of your castle in need of ingredients to craft you a powerful soup. Now, different items will allow him to craft different soups that give you different buffs. For example, crystal soup gives you movement speed and spell power. The stone is more so of a meme soup that allows your voice to be heard by everybody on the map by echoing. It's actually pretty funny. If you have him make you some frog soup, your tongue will force players to drop their held items by snatching it from them. Now the mushroom, it allows you to jump high and negates fall damage. And it makes a silly little noise whenever you jump around. This item, the mushrooms, are pretty dang useful whenever it comes to getting inside of the enemy castle. And now the logs, which in my opinion is one of the most powerful one, heals very little bit of your HP and actually gives you temporary health. It's important to note that these buffs actually do stack, so if you take more than one of these, they'll only become more powerful. You have multiple log soups, you'll have more temporary health, so on and so forth. Now to close off this video, we're just going to summarize everything we talked about real quick, and I'm going to give you guys a couple tips that can help you deal with some people that might have Excalibur in their hands, which is an extremely powerful weapon. So powerful, in fact, where if you actually kill the person wielding it, they will respawn with it, so you have to get them to drop it. You'll spawn into the realm, you want to capture your flag in the castle, and craft some goodies for you and the boys to go siege the other castle. From there, you're going to want to either spread out and capture the other flags around the map, or maybe bum rush the enemy castle. It really depends on what kind of strategy you and your teammates want to do here. Remember, powerful spells and items can be found at the mausoleum and the fire castle, and your castle flag is the most important flag because it's what allows you to respawn. Now, just for a quick tip to help deal with somebody that might have Excalibur in their hands, you're going to want to either create the frog stick or take the frog soup. If you do craft the frog soup, make sure you only drink it whenever you're close to the person wielding Excalibur, because your tongue will only whip out and rip somebody's items out of their hand one time close to you. Now, if you have the frog stick, it's pretty much unlimited in which you can grab stuff out of people's hands. It's perfect for grabbing not only Excalibur, but spell books as well. And well, guys, this is going to be the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. If you learned something new in this video, I would really appreciate a like, maybe comment something down below, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the Mage Arena. Peace!
Like it, sub it, Chroma gang running. Follow on kick if you really stunning. Join that Discord link with the core. One prime name they all adore. Refs left play, then press that bell. Ride with Chroma or wish him well. But don't fall behind, this ain't no game. You wanna level up, join the gang. This ain't content, it's command. You two kick Discord, one name, one game.